I never imagined that a single weekend trip could alter the way I saw myself, or the people I thought I knew best. My name is Ethan, and I've always been the quiet one in my family. My brother Ryan, on the other hand, is the opposite of me in every possible way: confident, charming, and effortlessly social. People gravitate toward him the way light pulls in moths. Growing up, I admired him, even envied him, but I also lived in his shadow. So when Ryan asked me to join him and his friends on a road trip to the mountains, I didn't hesitate. It felt like a rare invitation into his world, a chance to belong, to be seen. He said it would be fun, just a few days away from everything. "You need to get out of your comfort zone," he joked, tossing me the car keys. I smiled, pretending not to be nervous. Deep down, I wondered if I'd fit in with his confident friends. The morning we left, the air smelled like rain and freedom. Ryan's old Jeep was packed with bags, snacks, and loud laughter. His friends, Liam and Noah, were already inside when I climbed in. Liam greeted me first, his voice calm and friendly. He had a quiet confidence that felt different from Ryan's energy. When our eyes met, he smiled, not a teasing one like Ryan's friends usually gave me, but something softer, warmer. The drive stretched for hours through winding roads and endless green. Music played low from Ryan's playlist, songs from their college days. Ryan and Noah argued about which trail to hike first, while I leaned my head against the window, letting the rhythm of the car drown my thoughts. Every now and then, Liam would ask me something, simple questions, like what I did for work or what kind of books I liked. But it was the way he listened that caught me off guard. When I spoke, he really heard me. By the time we reached the cabin nestled between the trees, the sun had dipped low behind the peaks. The air was cooler, and a faint mist clung to the pine branches. The cabin wasn't fancy, just wood, stone, and silence, but it felt alive in a way the city never did. Ryan took charge, handing out rooms, cracking jokes, and lighting a fire. Noah unpacked food while Liam helped me carry bags inside. "You don't talk much, do you?" Liam said, holding the door for me. I laughed lightly. "Ryan does enough talking for both of us." He smiled, that quiet kind of smile again. "Yeah, he does." Later that evening, we sat outside around a small fire pit. Ryan's girlfriend Emily arrived unexpectedly. He hadn't mentioned she was coming. Her presence changed the dynamic instantly. She was kind, but her arrival seemed to make Ryan show off more: louder laughter, bigger stories, constant glances in her direction. I sat across from them, watching as she leaned on his shoulder, laughing at every word. Liam sat beside me, silent but observant. The crackle of the fire filled the spaces between us. Every so often, our eyes met through the flickering light. There was no need for words, it was a moment of quiet understanding. I didn't know what it meant, and I didn't dare to assume. Still, I couldn't ignore how calm I felt near him, as if the noise around us faded whenever he looked my way. As the night deepened, Noah pulled out a guitar and began to play softly. Emily hummed along, Ryan sang off-key, and everyone laughed. I noticed Liam watching the flames instead, his thoughts seemingly far away. When I offered him a blanket, he hesitated before taking it, brushing my hand slightly. It was unintentional, or maybe it wasn't, but it sent a strange pulse through me. A cool wind swept through the clearing. Ryan and Emily went inside first, their laughter echoing faintly from the cabin. Noah followed soon after, muttering about getting more firewood for tomorrow. Then it was just me and Liam. He leaned back, staring at the stars. "You ever feel like you're surrounded by people but still, invisible?" His question startled me. It was too close to home. I nodded slowly. "All the time." He looked at me, his eyes reflecting the glow of the fire. I thought I was the only one who felt that way. Neither of us said anything more. The silence wasn't awkward, it was heavy, alive with things neither of us could name. When I finally stood to leave, he whispered, almost to himself, "Good night, Ethan." That night, lying in the small cabin room, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying that conversation, that look, that fleeting touch. Something had shifted, subtle, invisible, but powerful that I didn't know it then, but that moment by the fire was the beginning of everything that would follow. The days following the reunion message felt strangely heavy, as if a quiet storm had settled inside me. I tried ignoring the invitation, convincing myself it was nothing more than a harmless reminder from the past. Yet every time I picked up my phone, my eyes drifted back to it. And every time I looked at Michael across the dinner table, I found myself wondering why the thought of returning to Riverside stirred feelings I had forgotten how to name. One evening, while Michael worked late, I sat on the couch scrolling through old memories, photos from high school, messages I thought I had deleted long ago. Buried between long-forgotten conversations was a single saved picture of Daniel Hart, taken during our final week before graduation. He was laughing, sunlight catching the edges of his hair, his expression so open and bright that it seemed impossible to believe so many years had passed since that moment that I should have closed the photo. Instead, I stared at it longer than I should have. The realization unsettled me, yet I couldn't deny the quiet truth taking shape. Something inside me missed the version of myself I was when Daniel was part of my life. As if summoned by my thoughts, my phone buzzed with a new notification. When I saw the name on the screen, my breath caught. Daniel Hart, are you coming to the reunion? It had been years since we last spoke, yet the message felt natural, gentle, as if no time had passed. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I typed, erased, rewrote. Finally, I settled on something safe. Ethan, I'm not sure yet. How have you been? His reply came almost instantly, carrying warmth I had forgotten existed. Daniel, still figuring life out. Some things never change. The simplicity of his words disarmed me. We exchanged a handful of messages, nothing intimate, nothing inappropriate, yet each one pulled me back into a place I thought I had outgrown. With every reply, I felt more connected to him, and more distant from the life I had built with Michael, and that was where the quiet infidelity began, not with touch or confession, but with longing that I found myself waiting for Daniel's messages. I told myself it was harmless, simply old friends catching up. But deep down, I knew the truth. The emotional pull I felt toward Daniel had begun chipping at the fragile space between Michael and me. One morning, as I prepared for work, Michael observed me with a puzzled expression. You're smiling at your phone a lot lately, he said lightly. I froze, not because I was doing anything wrong, but because the innocence of the situation felt less innocent in my heart. It's just, old school stuff, I lied. People from Riverside reaching out. His expression softened, though a hint of uncertainty lingered. That's good. You always said you didn't stay in touch with many people from back then. I nodded quickly, avoiding his eyes. For the first time in our relationship, I felt like I was hiding a part of myself, not because Daniel and I shared anything inappropriate, but because I feared what the truth would reveal about my own heart. Within a week, I made my decision. I think I'll go to the reunion, I told Michael over breakfast. He paused with his coffee halfway to his lips. That's unexpected. I thought you hated reunions. I guess it might be good to revisit old places, I said carefully. Just for a night. Michael nodded, though the crease between his brows deepened. Well, I hope it brings you something positive. His sincerity made the guilt press harder against my ribs. He had no idea that I wasn't chasing nostalgia, I was chasing clarity, answers, and emotions I could no longer ignore. The night of the reunion arrived faster than I anticipated. As I drove into Riverside, familiar streets pulled at memories I had tried to bury. I parked outside the dimly lit community hall, staring at the entrance as if crossing it would unravel everything I thought I understood about myself. Then, through the glass doors, I saw him. Daniel stood near the back wall, talking softly with a group of old classmates. Time had changed him, his shoulders were broader, his posture more assured, but the kindness in his expression remained exactly as I remembered. He glanced toward the entrance, and our eyes met across the crowded room. In that instant, the years between us collapsed. Daniel's smile grew slowly, warmly, like a sunrise finding its way through gray clouds, and I knew nothing about the night ahead would be simple. Seeing Daniel Hart across the reunion hall felt like witnessing a memory step into reality. The years had carved new lines along his face, but they hadn't touched the softness in his eyes. He moved through the crowd with quiet confidence, greeting old classmates with the same gentle sincerity he carried in youth. When he made his way toward me, the noise of the room faded into a distant blur. "Ethan," he said, his voice warm, steady, impossibly familiar that I forced a breath past the tightness in my chest. "It's been a long time." We found a quieter corner near the old trophy wall, where a single flickering light cast moving shadows across our faces. Daniel studied me with a searching gaze, as though trying to find the boy he once knew hidden beneath the man I had become. "You look different," he said thoughtfully. "But the way you carry yourself? That's still the same." I didn't know how to respond, so I focused on something safe. "You stayed in Riverside?" "For a while," he replied. "Then I left. Traveled. Tried to outrun things I didn't fully understand back then." His eyes lowered for a moment. "But some feelings follow you no matter how far you go." A quiet tension formed between us, not heavy, but unmistakably intimate. It wasn't the tension of romance, nor the spark of confession, it was the weight of unspoken truth both of us had avoided for far too long. That we slipped out of the hall after an hour, walking along the dim path that led to the old school grounds. The evening air carried the crispness of autumn, filled with the faint smell of damp grass and pine. It felt strangely full circle, as though the universe had placed us back where everything first began. Daniel stopped beneath the large oak tree where we used to sit after classes. "Do you remember this place?" he asked. "Every detail," I admitted. "I didn't think I did, until tonight." He smiled faintly, brushing his hand against the rough bark. "This tree heard more of our secrets than anyone else ever did." That was true. It was here that we talked about dreams, fears, and the pressures neither of us fully understood. And it was here that I first realized my feelings for him were more than friendship. That I finally spoke the question that had lingered in my mind for years. "Did you ever know about how I felt back then?" Daniel's expression grew soft, almost sorrowful. "I did. Not completely, but enough. I was scared. And I didn't want to risk losing the only person who made me feel understood." His honesty unraveled something inside me. I inhaled slowly, feeling equal parts relief and regret. "I guess I was scared too." We stood in silence for a moment, both absorbing the fragile truth hanging between us. Daniel broke it gently. "Ethan, are you happy now?" The question struck deeper than I expected. Happiness. A simple word with complicated edges. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "I thought I was. Or maybe I convinced myself I should be." "And Michael?" Daniel asked, carefully, respectfully. "He's good," I said. "Kind. Steady. He deserves more than I've given him these past few weeks." Daniel nodded as though he already knew. "Then don't let this confuse you. What you and I had, what we never said, belongs to that time. It shaped us, but it doesn't have to define what comes next." His maturity humbled me. He wasn't trying to claim me, nor revive something unfinished. He was reminding me to choose truth over nostalgia. "I came tonight looking for answers," I admitted. "Maybe even looking for pieces of myself." "And did you find them?" I thought about it, about Michael's quiet patience, about the distance I had created, about the emotional cracks I never dared to acknowledge. "I think I found clarity," I said quietly. "And guilt. But also, a sense of direction." Daniel smiled, not with sadness, but with acceptance. "Good. Then maybe that's what we were meant to be for each other, chapter openers, not endings." When we finally said goodbye, it felt like closing a door gently rather than slamming it shut. He squeezed my shoulder once, a gesture filled with warmth and closure. Driving home, the hum of the highway wrapped around me like a steady reminder of where I needed to return. When I walked into the apartment, Michael looked up from the couch, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "Did it go okay?" he asked as I sat beside him, heart steady for the first time in weeks. "Michael," I said softly, "we need to talk." And though fear rippled through me, honesty finally felt like a beginning instead of an ending.